Today we're going to be looking at how to solve more equations, some maybe higher order equations or some equations with funky fractional exponents, and then also some application problems. For higher order polynomial equations, we're going to need to be able to solve these by factoring. We're going to use our zero product property once we get everything factored. So on number 10, we have 98t cubed minus 49t squared minus 8t plus 4 equals 0. The first thing you always look to see if you can factor is a greatest common factor. Now, none of these four terms have the same factors in common. So, what else can we do with four terms? Well, we can factor by grouping. Factor by grouping. So recall, to factor by grouping, we're going to group the first two terms together and we're going to group the last two terms together. Now what I like to do is bring that minus sign, if that third term is a negative, bring the minus sign in with the second group, but that now looks like a multiplication problem, and we know it's not a multiplication problem. And so I'm going to squeeze in this plus sign in here to show that I'm not multiplying anything. Now to factor by grouping, you factor out the greatest common factor with the first group. That is what is in common with a 98t cubed minus 49t squared. And I believe we have a 49 and a t squared. So pull that out and write the leftovers. Left over, I would have 2 times t and then a minus 1. Now, you at least mentally want to run the 49t squared back through to make sure you didn't change any of your problem. And we didn't. 49t squared times 2t is the 98t cubed. 49t squared times a negative 1 is the negative 49t squared. Now, let me move that out of the way, actually. And let's factor what's common from the second group. From the second group, I'm going to bring down that plus sign that I squeezed in actually, and now let's factor out a 4. Now you have the option of pulling out a 4 or a negative 4, and I'm going to choose to pull out a negative 4. And here's the whole reason. Because when I write the leftovers, okay, it's going to be the same thing as the leftovers in the first group. So if I pull out a negative 4 from the negative 8t, I have a positive 2t left. Verify that by multiplying. When I pull a negative 4 from the positive 4, I have a minus 1. Bring down your equals and your 0. Now, again, mentally FOIL that back through just to check. Negative 4 times 2t is the negative 8t. Negative 4 times a negative 1 is a positive 4. So we didn't change our problem's values any, just the way that it looks. And that's good. Now, here's the whole reason that I factored out that negative 4. Because what I have what I have in common here is the 2t minus 1. So you think about pulling that common factor from these terms way out front. And once that is pulled out front, there it is, we are next going to write the leftovers. What's left over is the 49t squared plus a negative 4 just means minus 4, and bring down that equals 0. Now, hopefully you're getting pretty excited about this because we are to the point where we have a factor times a factor equals 0. And so our zero product property says, set each factor equal to 0. So 2t minus 1 equals 0. 49t squared minus 4 equals 0. And we'll solve each of those equations for t. On the first equation, add 1 to both sides. So we have 2t equals 1 divide by 2, so t is equal to 1/2. There's one of our answers that should check back into that original equation. Now we focus on solving 49t squared minus 4 equals 0. That is a quadratic because of the degree 2, so we're going to solve this one using quadratic methods. I think the easiest way to solve this, the most efficient way, is to isolate the t squared by adding 4 to both sides. So we have 49t squared equals a positive 4. Divide both sides by 49, and we'll have t squared equals 4 over 49. Now, just to get what t is equal to, I'm ready to take the square root of both sides. Now, don't forget, when I take the square root of both sides, don't forget your plus and minus. That gives us the two solutions we need. Square root of t squared will be t is equal to positive and negative, right, because of the plus and minus, square root of 4, which is 2, over the square root of 49, which is 7. So we actually have 3 answers in our solution set. Those consist of 1/2, positive 2/7, and a negative 2/7. Those are the 3 answers that would check back in my original problem should I go check those.